When you share a story with your children, are they really listening? I mean, are they paying attention to what and how you say it? And are they grasping what you are telling them? We always hear about the benefits of storytelling. Storytelling is a very important skill and plays a crucial role in language and cognitive development. And it is also important for academic and overall success in life. Now, in a nutshell, storytelling, not only fictional storytelling, by the way, but also telling about our day, an experience, a thought, is a very effective way for children and learners, everyone actually in general, to communicate ideas because it provides a clear and unambiguous language in real life contexts. Now, stories are motivating and inspire the imagination, and they enable the listener to make connections across different subjects. Yoshito and I are dedicating a few videos to this subject, but before focusing on telling stories, let's explore how listening to stories is an equally important skill to foster. So, what can we do so that our children listen to the story and get as much as possible from this experience? Yoshito focuses on setting up the scene of storytelling and story listening, and I talk a little bit about story listening with everyone, also teenagers and adults, both with the aim to make story listening an enjoyable experience for the teller and the listener. So make sure to watch until the end.
C'est le même problème que la dernière fois.
As you can see, having the most interesting story is not enough to captivate our children, so they listen to it. So although, as Uta mentioned, there are many benefits to storytelling, we first need to make sure they are listening. How can we achieve that? On the one hand, we need to create an inviting environment that allows children to focus fully on the story and enjoy it. For this, first, we need to make sure we pick a moment during the day where they're a bit calmer. It could be when they wake up or just before going to bed. Then we need to set a calm environment with no or few distractions. And of course, a cozy place is always recommended. And the last thing to do is to read the story in a way that they want to listen to it. This means that the story needs to be a story they are interested in, so it is better if they choose the book. Then it is always important that the text is accessible, which means that they understand enough words so that they understand the whole story. Of course, when we read, we can and should clarify anything that is not clear, but the more interruptions there are, the less they will be able to focus fully on the story. And it is recommended to make the story come to life by making sound effects, changing the way our voice sounds, to map the characters, etc. We also need to think about our goal. Why are we reading or telling a story to our children? Is it to spend quality time with them? Is it to expose them to our home language and teach them some new words at the same time? I guess in most cases it's a bit of both. If our priority is to spend quality time with our children, there is one thing I would like you to keep in mind. When we tell stories, it's probably more natural to use the language we speak with our children, but books are written in a certain language, so that we need to stick to. But please keep in mind that we are allowed to read in any language. Whether we use the OPO method or not, we can read in different languages because it's a different context. And especially when we feel that we are the only source of the language, it can be tempting to prioritize our home language or to impose our home language on our children. But if we're raising multilingual children, it's surely because we want them to benefit from all the things that any additional language can bring into their lives. So restricting the books we read to one language is going to be sending the wrong message. And it's going to be restricting the books we can read with them. If they can speak and understand 3 languages, why would we just stick to one language and limit the amount of books we can read with them? As a general rule, if we are going to read a text that's a little beyond what our children understand, I would suggest using books where you have other resources than just the text. So for example, picture books, comics books are great because you can use the pictures to clarify the meaning. And also when you have visuals, what you can do is to tell the story. So you don't read exactly what's written, you can tell the story, clarify anything in context, so within the story. And this means that with novels, for example, we need to be a bit more cautious and pick books that are roughly at our children's level.
So Yoshito has shared tips about how to read a story so our children can actively listen to it and access it. Like Beniko Mason mentioned in her interview with us at Raising Multilinguals Live, storytelling per se is not effective, but the way you are using it is. We can also practice story listening without any text or preparation. All we need to do is to focus on what and how we are saying it. What I mean with that is that we want to make sure that during the conversations or the discussions that we have with other people, we focus on their understanding of what we say. And when it is then their turn, we invite them to obviously do the same. For example, if I talk about multilinguals and use terms like successive and simultaneous multilinguals with my children or with someone who is not or less familiar with these terms, I want to make sure that beyond the simple understanding of the difference between successive and simultaneous, they understand that these two terms have a specific meaning in the chosen context. So simultaneous can mean happening during the same period of time, but in the context of multilinguals, it's during the early years, so before age 3 or 4, in non-formal settings, that's to say at home and when speaking with people around you. Versus successive multilinguals is in those who learn the language in a formal setting later on when they have already learned another language before. So Beniko Mason and Krashen call this process comprehension-aiding supplementation. And it can consist in paraphrasing, like I just did before, or in drawing a picture, or in giving a brief translation should this be necessary, or providing helpful linguistic context. In our multilingual family, we often come across terms that sound very similar but have different meanings in the other language or languages. So I often have to remind my children and my husband and myself too about how I intend the concept or word or term in a particular context. So for example, when I say in German, Claudia kommt uns eventuell Mittwoch besuchen, it is not sure if she will come visit. Whereas if I say the same sentence in English, using also the term eventually, it would be like Claudia will eventually come visit on Wednesday. But this means in English that we are sure that we will meet her. The word sounds the same, but means the opposite in these two languages. Like also in Italian and French, eventualmente and éventuellement have the same meaning like in German. So in order to make sure that what I'm saying is clear to those who are listening and who know English, for example, or German or any other language, I will specify or remind that eventuell, in this kind of context, here means vielleicht in German, maybe, that it is not sure yet, es ist auch noch nicht sicher, and that it might depend on certain circumstances whether she can make it or not. So es hängt ab von dem Wetter, von dem Zugfahrplan und ihrer Arbeit, ob sie überhaupt kommen kann. The more languages we know, the more we will become aware of these differences between the languages and also in each language when we use them separately. So in a nutshell, when we tell stories, no matter if from a text or not, if fictional or not, it is important to focus on its reception. How much of it will the listeners actually understand? Especially when they have different levels of knowledge and comprehension, adapting to several levels of comprehension is crucial. This might seem very easy, but try to share a recipe or what you did at work today with different listeners, and you'll realize that it requires a certain flexibility and knowledge of synonyms, antonyms, and ways to paraphrase. I invite you to explore the multiple ways to practice story listening on Beniko Mason's website.
If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe for more Multilingual family activities and games. And if you are looking for more ideas to foster your languages in a fun way, we always recommend our books, The Toolbox for Multilingual Families and The Parent's Guide to Raising Multi-literate Children. See you soon for our next videos on storytelling, and in the meantime, we invite you to have a look at our other videos on how to read wordless books and the benefits of reading aloud to multilingual children. And as always, enjoy
Enjoy all your
your
languages.